Hello, this is Dr. Kitch, and this is a webcast on how to use splines and hatching in your drawings, and also how to import images into AutoCAD. This particular webcast is related directly to this homework you have, where we're asking you to redraw this drawing of catfishing areas in a river. In this homework, we ask you to draw this drawing to scale to the best of your ability, but unlike other drawings, we haven't given you specific dimensions on the drawing, but they're down at the bottom. There is a scale that you can use. And wouldn't it be convenient if you could just import this image into AutoCAD and then draw right over the top of it? Well, you can do that, and that's exactly what I'm going to show you how to do in this webcast. Now, if you go to the Blackboard for your course and come down to homework, and scroll down to homework 6. This is the homework with the polylines and the hatching I was just talking about. And in that homework, you'll find that I've given you an image file for the catfishing area. So we need to download that image file. And so you can click on that. I'll right click on it here and say Save Image As. I'm going to put it right in my desktop just for an easy place to find it. And I'm just going to call it Homework 8. Save it as a PNG file. Okay, now I have what I need to do to start the CAD drawings. So we're going to go to AutoCAD now and start our drawing. And I'm going to again go to Templates. I'm going to pick the ACAD template because that's the one that's in English units. I'm going to open that template. And just as always, the first thing I'm going to do is check units and make sure they're set up right. I see I'm in length is decimal, angles are decimal. That's good. That's okay. Then I'm going to set up the drawing units. I see that right now that I'm in feet, and that's what I wanted to be, so I'm drawing in decimal feet, so that's all good. So I'll just escape out of there. And I'm not going to need the grid right now, so I'll turn the grid off. Now, before we get started, we need to do some layer work here to set up the layers we're going to need for this drawing. And so I have my layer manager open here, and I'm going to create several new layers. The first layer I'm going to create is the image layer. That's the layer I'm going to import that image onto that we're going to draw over top of. So I'm going to create a new layer there. And then, just as your instructions in lynda.com showed you, we're going to need one layer for our boundaries that we're going to use to create the hatched areas. And we're also going to need a layer for the hatching. I'm going to turn the boundary layer onto bright yellow. And I'll leave the hatching as white. I think that'll work fine. Now, the very first thing we're going to do is import the image into our drawing so we can draw over the top of it. So I'll double click on image to set that as the current layer. Shrink this back down. You'll see I'm on the image layer here. Now we want to go insert that image, and so we're going to go to the insert tab, and we're going to come over here to attach. That's the way we're going to insert the image. We're actually going to attach it. So we're going to attach, and it's going to ask us what we want to go to. And remember, I put that on my desktop. So here's the thing I want to attach right now, homework8.png. We're going to open that up, and we're going to get a chance to scale it or do things here. We're not going to do all that. We're just going to make sure the insertion point, we're going to specify that on the screen. I'm going to click OK, and now you can see I'm dragging around that image. I'm just going to put it at some place that I know where the corner is, so I'm going to insert it at the coordinates 10, 10, and I'm going to hit enter. And now this is my image, and now you see we have a chance to scale it if we want to. Notice how I move in and out, it scales up and down. We actually don't know exactly what scale to do right now. I'm just going to pick some scale, arbitrary scale here, click on that, and now if I double click the wheel and zoom to extent, you can see that I've imported that image. Now, it's important if we're going to draw on this image that it actually be at the correct scale, and we don't know what scale it's at right now, but I'm going to zoom in here on the scale shown, and I'm going to use the distance command, DIST, and hit enter. And I'm just going to zoom in a little closer. I'm going to measure how far it is across here in our drawing units right now. And if I go across from one to the other, and click to the end here, you notice that it's 2.7115 units across the end, and that's equal to 100. So what I want to do is I want to scale this drawing so the distance from 0 to 100 on the scale is equal to 100, not 2.7115. So I'm going to grab my calculator, which you can't see. I'm going to take 100. I'm going to divide it by 2.7115. And that's going to tell me that I need to scale this up by 36.88 times. So I'm going to zoom back out to extents. And now I'm going to go back to the Home tab. I'm going to come over to the Modify menu. I'm going to pick Scale, and then I'm going to click on the edge of this drawing. And you notice that I've selected that object. I'm going to hit Enter to finish the selection, and then it asks for a base point. And you can either just select the corner down here or enter 1010 since we know where it's at. So we're going to pick the base point there. And now it's asking me for the scale factor. And I just calculated on my calculator that was 36.88. So I'm going to type that in. I'm going to hit Enter. And now I got a much larger drawing. I'm going to zoom out, back out to extents again. And now I need to check to see if I'm actually at the right scale. So I'm going to zoom in again to our scale here. I'm going to type in DIST again to measure the distance. I'm going to go from one end over to the other. And you can see that is pretty close to 100 feet. I'm going to call that good enough. And we are now ready to start drawing. Now the scale that you actually enter for your drawing is going to depend on how you insert it. So what you have to do is insert it, use the distance command to measure how far it is across the scale, compute the amount you need to expand the drawing, and then scale it up that amount. Now that I've imported this image into my drawing and scaled it properly, I can just draw right over the top of the current image in AutoCAD, and when I'm done, everything will be to the proper scale. So I'm going to start by doing one of these troughs over in this area. I'm going to prepare by moving from the image layer to the boundary layer, because that's the layer I want to draw the boundary on. I'm going to zoom into this point, and I'm going to draw a spline around this area and close the spline, and then I'll hatch inside that. So I need to do the spline command. It's over here in the draw menu, but you have to pull down to find it. And there's two splines. There's spline fit and there's spline CV. For what we're doing, the spline fit works better. I'm going to pick that, and you'll see I have my crosshairs here. And now I'm just going to click around the edge of this drawing, and you'll see as I do that, that the spline fits a nice smooth point, a smooth line between the points that I select. And so I can draw a nice smooth curve around this area following the contours that are already on the map. And when I get to the end, I like to pick close here just to ensure that the spline actually gets closed. And now you see I have a single spline that covers that area, and it outlines pretty much the same way it was on the map. Now, to make things a little easier right now, I'm going to turn off the image layer. This is one of the main reasons we put this on a different layer, so I can turn it off so it's not cluttering up my drawing now. And then I'm going to change to the hatching area, because that's what we're going to do next. We're going to hatch next. So we're going to come over here and do a hatch. And now I'm ready to do my hatch. The first thing I need to do is pick what kind of hatch I want to do. And I suddenly realized that I forgot what hatch it goes in this area. So I'm going to go back to Home. I'm going to turn on the image again one more time. There we go. Oops. And so that hatch is the one that has 4 lines and a space and 4 lines. Okay, so I now know which one I want to do. So I accidentally changed my layer. So I'm going to turn the hatching layer back on. As I'm going to make that the current layer. I'm going to turn the image back off. And I'm going to come back here to hatch. I'm going to come back here. I'm going to pick hatch. My hatch screen comes up. So now I need to look for that right type of hatching. And I believe it's this one, the ANSI 34. So I'm going to pick that. And now the command line is asking me what I want to hatch. And I want to pick an object. So I'm going to come over here to select up here and select a boundary object. Come over and pick this one. And bang, there's my hatching. And that does not look good. And the hatching is actually fine. It's just a scale problem. So I'm going to come up here to the scale command, and we're going to change that. I'm going to put that at 10. Now it starts to look right, but that's still a little small for the drawing. So let me change that again. Let me try 40, and that looks pretty good. But now if you remember from the drawing, the hatching went the other direction. Let me open up my window here real quick. I'm going to turn the image back on real fast and hide this. And remember, see the hatching I've drawn goes one direction, but the hatching in the original drawing goes the other. That's easy to do. That's just the angle. So I'm going to come up here to the hatch. I'm going to rotate that by 90 degrees just by typing 90 in there and hitting enter. And now you see my hatching is going in the same direction. So that's good. I'm going to open up my layer command here. Again, I'm going to turn the image off. And now hide that again. And now I have that hatching, and that scale looks pretty good. You don't have to use exactly that scale, but that one will work fine. Now I'm going to go back, turn my image back on, hide my layer panel, and I am going to zoom back out to extents. Let's now do the hatching for this shoreline on the right hand side, and I'll show you some tricks to making this polyline work here for us. So if we were just to go in there and do what we did for this trough area, change my current layer to boundaries, come over here in the draw command and enter a spline, and if I just start to draw down my spline down this line, everything goes great till I get to this corner. Now I want to come over this corner and turn the corner, pick there, and then go up this side, and I can keep going, and I finally get up to the top, and then I come down here and close the polyline. The trouble I have now is I got these bulges at the end because I can't get these right angles in on the spline. And there's no really good way to do that. You can try editing the spline, but it doesn't work very well. So instead of doing that, I'm going to delete this right now. And what I'm going to do is I am going to draw a straight line for the top and a straight line for the bottom, and then do two separate splines, one on each side, and then I'm going to join them into a single entity. So I'm going to zoom in at the top, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line. I'm going to do a line from here to here. Hit enter to finish the line command. I'm going to zoom into the bottom, draw another line from here to here. Hit enter to finish that. Now I have lines at the top and the bottom, and now I'm going to go do my splines. I'm going to start with one spline here. Now I've got object snap on, so I'll be sure to start in the right place. And probably need to zoom in a little closer. And I'm just following down here along the edge. And then at the very end, I want to make sure I snap to the end there and then hit enter to finish that spline. So now I have one of the splines done. I just need to do one on the other side. So I'm going to repeat the spline command. And I'm going to start right here. Go up to there, pan up, go up to here, just work my way up the side here, and I think I'll put one right there, and then again close, make sure it's closed there, hit enter to continue, and again now I'm going to turn off the image so we can see a little better. And now you see I have my outline for the shore, but it's in 4 different pieces. So I need to put these together into one entity. So I'll use the join command, and the join command is under the modify menu, and if you scroll down here there's these 2 arrows that point towards each other, or you can just type J for join. But I'm going to click on join there, and then I just need to select all the entities I want to join. So I want to enjoy the top line, the spline on the right, the bottom line, and the spline on the left. And then I just hit enter to close that command, and now I have a single entity. So now I can go and hatch this entity. So I'm just going to come to hatch here. My hatch menu comes up. I'm sitting there realizing that I'm about to hatch on the wrong layer. So I'm going to escape out of that. I'm going to come back to layers, make my hatching layer current. Hide the layers again, go back to hatch. Now I need to use a different hatch type for this, and I'm looking down for the one that looks right, and I did this before, and I know that this AR sand is a good one to use. So I'm going to pick that as my hatch type. I'm going to come over here and put that on here, and I'm going to look at that and say, you know, that's not very dense. So that's number 40 here. The scale's probably not right. Let me change that to 10, see how that looks, and say, hey, that looks pretty good. And I'm going to hit enter to finish that command, and now I have that hatch done for the right shore. I'm just going to quickly turn the image layer back on, and now you can see I've got the hatch done in this area for the shore, and I've got one of the troughs done. And so now you can just repeat that exercise to get all of the other areas done. And you can do the same for the thing for the anchor. You can put together a bunch of lines, close them with the join command, and then fill them with a solid cover, and then you can just copy them all over the drawing. So that's how you do hatching and create areas using both splines and lines with the join command, and how you can draw over the top of an existing drawing. So I hope that helps.